So just to make sure that there's plenty of screens in front of me. So someone, can you please confirm if you can see the first slide right now, the introductory lecture?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll start again since the lecture is now being recorded. So good morning. My name is Gaurav Bhutani. I'll be teaching you for ME 303, which is a core or a compulsory course for mechanical engineers. This course is being offered in the third year. Typically, but you can also attend this in second or fourth year, depending on if you've completed the prerequisites for this course. This time we are teaching the course online, so we'll definitely be facing a couple of hiccups, especially in the beginning. So if you have any issues, please feel free to email it to me, or you can speak up or write in chat window, and I'll get back to you. So now I'm on the second slide. In case you cannot see the second slide titled Heat Transfer, today's agenda, just speak up. Today's agenda is to talk about the course, so what this course is about and how is it going to be useful to you. We'll also talk about the expectations you should be expecting from this course and me, and then I'll talk about my expectations from you in this course. So this time the semester is a bit compressed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we will have 4 lectures per week. The idea was to have 4.5 just to make sure that we can complete the course in 9 weeks. But I am just doing 4 lectures per week because online teaching usually goes a bit faster than classroom teaching because I don't see a quick feedback. So I might be going a bit faster. Again, if you think that I'm going too fast in the course, then please let me know through email or a course chat during these classes. The venue for this, of course, is online, but for the people who are on the campus, you can attend the classes in A51 in South Campus. This is one of the virtual classrooms we have set up on the campus. This is a B slot. So if you are having any slot clashes, again, email them to me. Don't speak up right now because slot clashes have to be handled separately. But as I said, it's a core course. It will be very difficult to change the timings for this core course, especially this semester. It's extremely condensed. Changes will be difficult, but it's not impossible. We'll have 4 lectures, as I said. So we'll have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, so that we have a day's gap in the week for you to relax and catch up. Timings are given. You can also check the calendar that's been shared with you by the classroom committee. We'll have 1 tutorial every 2 weeks. That is on a Friday. Again, in case that tutorial that day does not work out for you, don't worry. I mean, we're recording the lectures, so you will have access to those on through the recordings. We'll have 1 teaching supporter in this course, Deepak. Deepak, are you there in the meeting? Okay, no problem. So you can tag Deepak later. Can I please request if you can all put your microphones on mute so that there's usually some echo if you don't do that. Okay, so the prerequisites or assumed knowledge for doing this course, you should have done thermodynamics. You should understand basic thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, and differential equations, which you must have done as a part of your mathematics first year course. I expect you to know how to solve ODEs, ordinary differential equations, and partial differential equations. But don't worry, I'll be giving you practice material during this course so that you can easily catch up and brush up the material. Right, so as I said, this is different from usual. So you are in 3rd or 4th years and you are used to classroom teaching. So I've tried to make it as usual as possible. So I'll be teaching using the green board. We'll be using Google Meet for streaming because we have a G Suite account available on the college. So all your college IDs have a link through Google. So that helps in the privacy concerns that we have. So you can only log in through your college ID. So if you try to log in through your usual non-college Gmail ID, then I will not allow you in this meeting because of security reasons. Lectures will be recorded and will be shared with you over YouTube or Moodle. Again, these lecture recordings will not be shared after every lecture. especially on YouTube or Moodle. So the TA will be doing it by the end of every week. But these meeting recordings will be available to you through Google Calendar. So there is a meeting link on Google Calendar that will be shared for all the meetings. You can simply click on that, and as an attachment, once the recording is completed, that recording will be available there. You will also get an email if you were a part of the invitees in the meeting that the recording is generated. So there's, I mean, I'm sure you are used to all these things, but it won't take you much time to get used to Google Calendar, Google Meeting, and accessing Google recordings through Google Drive. I strongly recommend you to attend the streaming lectures if possible, as the semester is extremely packed. It's six days per week, and so a couple of courses will have 5 lectures per week. So it's extremely packed, and if you leave things for the last minute, then I'm quite certain that you will not get that time, because other courses will demand time as well. For the notes, notes will not be shared. If you were a part of my continuum mechanics course last semester, so I was sharing notes as PDF, but this time, since we are using the green board, so I'll not have any notes in the PDF format to share with you. You will have access to the videos of the lecture. So you can take either snapshots for later access, or you can simply access the video again later if required to access the lecture material. Any questions till this point? Okay, so moving on. The text material for this course is the book by Incropera. His photo is there on the screen, if you can see that on the top right. So this is available in the IIT Mandi library. Soft copies are also available. So we'll be using the 6th edition. So whenever I give you reference problems with numbers, so you must be referring to the 6th edition of the book, International Student Version, for the referring to the exact problem numbers or page numbers I refer to. If you have any questions, any problems accessing the book or the material, please get back to me over email. But I'm quite sure that the material should be available to you without any problems. We'll also be using a couple of reference books. You don't need to worry about that too much, but I just want to mention those. So there's a book titled Heat Transfer by Ghosh Dastidar. He's a professor in IIT Kanpur. I'll be using that briefly in the convection chapters. Another one is by Leinard and Leinard. It's a Dover Publications book on heat transfer, and then we have Sengel's book on heat transfer. I'm sure you have been through Sengel's book on thermodynamics during your thermodynamics course. These are again reference books. In case I want to refer to something, I'll mention that in the reading assignments. Now, the most interesting slide for you in today's lecture. So the grading policy will be quite spread throughout the course. The reason I did that was not to give too much weight to one exam, because this course is conducted online. So as I said, that please try to attend the lectures as streams, or try to brush up the content as soon as possible without delaying too much, because we'll be having lots of minor quizzes. So we'll have minor quizzes which are 10% each, and they'll start in the first week of October. So that is just 2 weeks from now. So we'll have 4 minor quizzes, 2 before the major quiz, which is planned in the 3rd week of October as per the timetable that's also shared on the screen. Major quiz will be 25%, and the end sem, which is in the 1st week of December, will be 35%. Now, all the exams will be conducted over Moodle with the CBM, that is certainty-based marking. I'm sure, well, almost all of you were a part of continuum mechanics, so you have been through this mode of examination. But the end sem examination will be subjective, and we'll have a viva for that. So all the subjective skills that I want to test, I'll leave it to the end sem, but all the minor and major quizzes will be through Moodle. Now, are there any concerns about the grading policy? If you have any concerns, speak up now.
Sir, hello.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, please go on.
Can you tell about the quizzes again?
Uh, can you repeat the question? I didn't get that.
About the quizzes, minor and major quizzes.
Okay, should I repeat that?
Yes, sir.
So I said we'll be having two minor quizzes. So the word minor is there because it's 10% weight. So these ones, let's see if I can have a pointer.
What's meant by CBM?
Right. So I guess you were not a part of the continuing mechanics course last semester. Is that true?
Yes, sir. I'm not in it.
Okay. So CBM stands for certainty based marking. Now don't worry about that too much right now because I will explain that in detail before the first quiz. So what that means is that you will have an objective type examination, but along with the answer, you also need to mention how sure you are about the answer. So let me give you a quick CBM matrix that's used for marking. So let's say you have a problem. Now the answer that you give can either be correct or incorrect. Now without CBM, if there's no negative marking, then you get 1 mark for correct and 0 marks for incorrect. But in this case, when you have certainty based marking, then you can have a low certainty, a medium certainty, or a high certainty. So if you answer a question correct with high certainty, you get 3 marks. So that means I have tested how confident you are in knowing about a certain concept. But if you make a mistake, if you answer the question incorrectly with very high confidence, you lose 6 marks. It's very important to know, to separate or to distinguish what we know from what we don't know. So I mean, it can be extremely dangerous in the real world if you have high confidence in something that is wrong. Okay, so this is what happens. Now, if the confidence is low, so let's say you are just simply guessing the answer. So you say you mark an answer with a low confidence, then you get only 1 mark if the answer is correct, which is good, and you do not lose anything if the answer is incorrect. And somewhere in the middle, you get 2 marks if your answer is correct with a medium confidence, and for the incorrect answer with medium confidence, you lose. I don't remember this number. I think it was either -3 or -4. So I think it was, let's say -3 for this time. But once before the examination, I will share the details of this CBM matrix. So this is so you'll have an objective type paper over Moodle, but you'll have to supply a confidence level with each answer for me to grade you. Is that correct? Is that clear now?
Yes, sir.
Any other concerns about the marking? So I'm assuming that everybody is happy with the grading policy, so I'll move ahead. Now, attendance policy. So I will be recording the attendance, but attendance is not compulsory. So the recording of the attendance, I'm clearly mentioning that right now, is simply for my help to know how many people could or did attend the lectures, but it is not compulsory for you to attend the classes. So it is up to you whether you want to attend it in during streaming or you want to access the videos later. I will not force you to attend the classes in any ways, especially this time since it's an online semester and you may not be having the right connection or the bandwidth at that time. But I'll again strongly recommend, if you can, please do attend the lectures during the streaming hours. Again, and if nobody attends the lectures and I don't have any feedback, I'll keep on speaking without much explanation. So I will not get that feedback from your side as to what is clear and what requires more explanation. Okay, so plagiarism and unfair means, we all are quite clear about the policy that we have in this institute. So you'll get an F grade if I realize that you have used unfair means during the examination. And again, we will be capturing your IP details and all these things through Moodle, which is possible, just to make sure that no unfair means have been used. And again, you also know about the fact that disciplinary action is taken if any unfair means are used. So especially this time, it's an online semester, so please be careful. Don't use the same devices. I will not expect any two people to use the same device for answering questions during the semester. Again, I mean, if you plan to use the same device and so on, then let me know before the exam starts. Extra resources, you can access, there's some material available over NPTEL. There's heat and mass transfer courses from IIT Guwahati and IIT Bombay, if you want to access those. As I said, that lecture notes, if I have my handwritten notes, I will share them with you as PDFs. Slides, etc. Reading assignments. So I'll also be sharing reading assignments. So at the end of the week, I'll give you section or topic numbers that you can read from the book. So this is just to make sure that if you do not prefer attending the lectures, or you want to support the lectures with reading material, please read those topics by the end of the week, so that you are up to date before the next week starts. Practice problem sheets. I'll be sharing practice problems with you by the end of every week, so that you can practice them and understand the concepts much better. Now remember that especially in engineering, it's very important you practice problems. Just knowing about the ideas will not help, and the ideas also get reinforced a lot when you practice problems, which is where your brain exercises itself. Lectures may include topics from outside the textbook. So this will be mentioned in the assignment, that you must be recommended to read these topics from a reference book, not the textbook. If nothing is mentioned, then the topic numbers will refer to the textbook of this course, which is Incropera. Okay, now I will play a video for you that we'll all look at. I've also shared the link to the video in the Google Calendar meeting. It's also available on this slide here. So if you want to look, it's a YouTube video, so you don't really need to keep accessing the meeting for the next 7 or 8 minutes. I'll play it here for me to view it, and you can also go through it by yourself through YouTube. So you can open Google Calendar invite, and the link is shared there. So I'll ask you now to open this YouTube link, and please go through the video. It's a 7-minute video. And once you are done, I will see you again in this meeting after 8 minutes. In the meantime, I'll play this so that this video gets recorded in the meeting. And if you have any concerns accessing the link, please, I'll play it now. Is there anyone who's watching the video over Google Stream? Thanks. Somebody shared the link here. Thanks, Mr. Singh. So you can click this link and watch it yourself. And I'll play it here. So are we back from watching the video?
Yes, sir.
Anybody still watching the video? All right. So, what applications of heat transfer did you see in the video? Let's do it a bit more interactively. So, I will let you speak up. So, once you speak up, I'll write it on the board. What applications of heat transfer did you see in the previous video?
So in the boiler part, the cooling moving liquid transfer is heat transfer to the, sorry, I mean to say that the heat transfer to the water and it becomes steam in the boiler part.
Right. So, very good. So, boilers one.
So we saw the same condenser.
Yeah.
Condenser.
So heat is going from the water in the pipe to the cool temperature reservoir.
Right.
High
So,
temperature,
condenser.
high pressure turbine. High pressure
Turbines.
turbine.
Right.
And pump compressor.
Compressor. Pump. Well, in this case, we had a pump. Cooling towers. We saw that towards the end.
Yes, sir.
Right. So the cooling towers, which are used to cool the water, which is used in heat exchangers for ultimately the condensation of steam.
Sir, doubt. Hello.
Yes, please go on.
Are electric purifiers part of it because they're converting the steam pollutants like hot pollutants from the coal gas into other substances, right? So can they be also involved in this?
Can you please speak up again? I didn't get that.
Electric purifiers from the pollutants, like by burning coal we get pollutants, right? They're
You
converting
mean
them
the
also.
electrostatic precipitation, ESP?
Yes, sir.
Right. So ESPs are using electrostatic methods, but yes, there is definitely heat transfer going on there as well. Okay, so I'll write that as well. So what we see is that in a typical power plant, the application the video you saw, heat transfer is happening at each and every a central core area that we need to study and understand as mechanical engineers to be able to understand the working of a power plant. The title of the slide was thermodynamics and heat transfer, right? Thermodynamics you have studied. Thermodynamics tells you what the final state of the system will be. But that process from going from the initial to the final state is something that is quite important as engineers. I mean, it matters. The size of the cooling tower will matter. If you want to cool things very quickly, you would tend to have a huge cooling tower. If you have all the time, 10 years to cool something, you will have a very small cooling tower. So the design of equipment depends on the rate at which the energy is transferred, the rate at which heat is transferred. So thermodynamics talks about the amount of energy or heat transferred, but heat transfer talks about the rate, how fast it is transferred. So in this course, we'll be talking about the rate of heat transfer rather than talking about the initial and final states which are decided by the laws of thermodynamics. So you saw condensers. So how many pipes or fins or channels should I have so that I can condense this flow rate or this amount of water per unit time? Boiler. So again, you have these heat exchangers inside boilers. So at what rate, if I want some X volume flow rate or meter cube per second of water to be heated, then what's the design, what's the shape and so on of the boiler I require. Okay. So these are the things. So heat transfers. So this is the heat transfer course, talks about the rate at which energy or heat is transferred in engineering equipment. Now, why is it important? Why do we need to study heat transfer? Well, you know that energy is something that's very critical. We are facing an energy challenge in the world. So we have to make sure that this energy is available. So we need to improve the efficiency of equipment and so on. And you can still see that as per the stats of 2012 on the figure on the right hand side, coal still was a significant contributor to the energy production or consumption. And that is still the case. So heat transfers, again, quite central. Again, natural gas, heat transfer, natural gas for utilization for energy consumption, either through converting to electrical energy or using it in the fuels in just directly converting to heat, is again significant contribution. Petroleum, biomass and waste. So you can see that heat transfers everywhere when it comes to energy production. Okay, so this one's the United States energy use. So there's nothing new we see here. So again, on the left hand side, you can see that the black stuff lines originating from coal, and then above that you have natural gas. So coal and natural gas on the left hand side, you can see that again contribute significantly to energy generation as well as overall energy services that are provided. Petroleum, again, the bottom one, the green one, has significant contribution to both the energy services such as transportation particularly, and then nuclear energy also has approximately 10% contribution to the energy generation. So again, we see that heat transfers again central. Now, global warming's a key concern. It's statistically proven that the temperatures are increasing. And if we can make the process more efficient, we can extract the maximum amount of heat rather than rejecting that to the atmosphere. Then we can also reduce this global warming problem. So what can we do as engineers? So we can definitely, one, we can increase the efficiency of generation and conversion. This can be done through reduction of losses. So if you're losing lots of energy, then we can figure out a process improvement where we can reduce losses. We can work on waste heat harvesting. So when you reject heat to the atmosphere, rather than doing that, you can utilize that through a secondary power generation process. And again, we can go to renewable energy resources, and everything has heat transfer embedded in it. Now let's talk about a couple of applications of heat transfer in engineering, typical applications. Now in the video, you saw that the efficiency of the thermal power plant is dependent on the Carnot efficiency. That is 1 minus Tc by Th. So, Tc is the cold sink temperature we cannot control, but Th we can control. Now, Th, again, we cannot increase indefinitely because the turbine blades have a maximum temperature the materials can handle. We can do plenty of things. We can coat them with ceramics, or as you can see in the figure on the left hand side, we have these tiny holes through which we can pass cooling liquid, so coolant. When we pass that, we can use these amazing ideas to cool the fin blades. So then we can use higher temperature of steam and hence higher efficiency in the power plant. We can also inject air through these holes so that we cold air out from these holes so that we create a thin layer of cold air around the turbine blades. So a momentum transfer can happen from the hot steam, but at the same time we have a cold layer of air above the blades so that the blades internally do not get heated up through the hot steam. On the right hand side on the top, you see a fuel cell. So energy storage is a major problem. You can store energy in batteries. That's the only way you can store electrical energy. Or you have to pump up water and store that, and then pump it down again, passing through turbines and produce energy. So if you produce lots of energy when the requirement's not there, you should be able to store it. So these fuel cell or the flow batteries that we have allow you to convert water to hydrogen through the reaction, and then you can again burn hydrogen in a very clean way without producing any harmful gases. So these when you work at high temperatures, then the material handling the materials become a problem. So again, heat transfer is a key aspect that we need to study. Transportation again has, as you know, that spaceships, automobiles, and so on. Everything has heat transfer embedded in it. Now the next one's semiconductor cooling. Now we all know that these days a lot of computing requirements needed. This is the age of automation. The people who play computer games may have seen the cooling problems they face because of the heating that happens in your computers. So on the top right, you see a gaming PC, which is liquid cooled. Instead of cooling using air, you can cool using liquids. And that, as we will see in this course, that you can have an order of 10 to 20 times heat loss increase using liquid cooling in heat transfer. So we will study that as a part of this course. And at the bottom right, you see this high performance computing cluster, supercomputers, also known as supercomputers. So these supercomputers need to, they solve the computing problems in a parallelized way. So you distribute the work into different processors. So you typically have this one has around 7 million cores or processors in it. This one's, I think, the Fugaku, which is the fastest supercomputer, which is currently in Japan. So this can solve around 200,000 teraflops. This is 200 petaflops of computing power. So floating point flops is floating point operations per second. So you can see how many calculations it can do. You need to place them close to each other because the transfer of information takes time. So if you have them placed physically close to each other, then they perform in a much better way. But when you put them close to each other, then all of them are producing lots of heat. Typically, this one is taking approximately 20 megawatts of power. So megawatts is typically what a hydroelectric power plant typically would produce. So it's a whole hydroelectric power plant is simply running just to, hypothetically, it's running just to power this computing device. So you can imagine that, and almost all of this energy is produced as heat because there's no work happening inside this supercomputer, engineering, physical work. So you can see that this heat has to be managed. So you need cooling devices, and nowadays, amazing cooling devices. So you have cooling system embedded inside the racks where you store these nodes, and these cooling systems use again liquid cooled systems. So just as a side note, IIT Mandi is going to buy a new supercomputer, which is 650 teraflops. It's state-of-the-art machine that we'll be housing on the campus. So we'll be one of the few places in India which will have a supercomputers. So probably in 6 months from now, we'll have it installed in the supercomputing center that we are setting up on the college. So this all is coming up. So you can see that heat transfer is something that is central to the latest technological development. Surgery, so cryosurgery, you cool things down so that the cells die, or laser surgery, you heat them so much so that they die. So surgery again involves a lot of heat transfer. So typical application areas, it's there in the nature: weather prediction, climate modeling, ocean flows, magma flows out of the earth, forest fires. All of these require you to understand heat transfer. Mechanical engineering, thermal insulations, for example, you want to insulate pipes so that you don't lose heat if you have cooling equipment. If you have cold water circulating for air conditioning, sometimes you want to enhance heat transfer. So you would want to increase heat transfer, for example, in wires. So if a wire is getting heated up because of current flow, then you would want to increase the heat transfer so that the insulation does not, or the wire does not melt. Then you have HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipments, which have a lot of heat transfers central to those. Energy production, transportation, process industry, pharmaceuticals, endothermic and exothermic reactions, medicine, again, as I said, surgery, and hardware cooling, as we discussed. are again key application areas to heat transfer. The lecture plan in this course, we'll be talking about, we'll be spending a couple of lectures on induction, then we'll talk about heat conduction. So that's one of the major modes of heat transfer. So we'll talk about heat conduction, steady state first, and then we'll talk about how things change with time. We'll talk about a couple of numerical methods because the equations that you will develop or deal with it's difficult to solve them using analytical mathematical techniques. So we'll discuss about numerical techniques used to solve them in the industry. We'll talk about convection, which is the second mode of heat transfer. Then we'll talk about forced and free convection, both. We'll talk about phase change phenomena because condensation and boiling are phase change phenomena where you can increase or enhance the heat transfer rates tremendously. Then finally, we'll talk about thermal radiation, which is the third mode of heat transfer. Also quite significant, especially in space applications. As engineers, we need to solve problems. This is how we exercise our brain. Knowing or seeing the solutions is going to satisfy us during the process, but it will not exercise our brain, and we will not learn how to solve problems, which is key to engineering exercises. Well, why should you learn heat transfer? I leave that to you. I leave it to you to decide over the course as to why you should be learning this topic. Now, finally, my expectations from you. So I want you to enjoy the course. That is extremely important. And if you do not, then please let me know. I'll make sure that I modify the contents or the methods so that you can really enjoy it. This course is going to be quite mathematical at some points, but the intuition is extremely important. So look beyond the equations, the interpretation of the results that you have, you'll have to get used to them, because as engineers, again, we cannot always write the equation and solve it. We'll have to develop intuition in that process as well. Please ask questions. Feel free to ask questions either during the presentations or through email later, or through Moodle as well. So Moodle, I'll be organizing a discussion forum where you can share your problems and questions. Please participate. And again, as I said, think like an engineer. So think in real world when you see things around you, when you watch videos or think about technological solutions, see or think where heat transfer is being used. It will be almost everywhere. It's very important to stay motivated. So popular science is full of heat transfer because it's central to engineering. So I'll be discussing with you, but also read about scientists and engineers who have worked significantly over the last many decades in heat transfer applications. Latest inventions, please make it a habit to read popular science articles and magazines and publications so that we are aware of what's happening these days. So again, YouTube channels are full of this stuff as well. History of technology, it's very important to understand how things have developed over the past, and that gives us, that gives many a motivation to read or understand the subject in more detail. And science fiction is full of heat transfer applications, especially, I mean, if you've seen that movie, The Martian, do read that book. That book is amazing. I mean, the movie did not talk about all these subtle details, but if you read the book, you will see that that guy in the Martian movie was a mechanical engineer, also being a botanist. So there's plenty of amazing mechanical engineering ideas of heat transfer used in that book. And books by Michael Crichton, again, are full of engineering applications. Again, it's science fiction, but once you have a basic assumption, then everything is implied logically from those. And in case you have any recommendations, please feel free to email them to me. So I'll share that with the whole class, or you can do that yourself. Okay, so we'll stop this introductory lecture today here. And then now I'll meet you tomorrow for the first lecture where we'll start talking about heat conduction. Do we have any questions before I stop this recording? Okay, if there's no question, then thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.